Like when you are trying to hire me, don't look at my Twitter. Thanks. That would be great.
I think it would, but that's almost too idealistic because it's just like,
I think I could see in the movie that a lot of it was cut out. I don't know why. I can't imagine why.
you know why.
I do know why, but it sucks. It sucks because that's my original point here is that
Would you have maybe liked to take your mother's surname if you had the choice?
Yeah.
I'm also like,
Could have been something there. It
could've been
changed the
something.
vibes.
I just feel like you're walking back into the same situation that you left, and there's no way that we can walk away from that movie and be like, she made the right decision.
Yeah. I downplay it a lot, but a lot of what I do is natural talent.
But again, I think that's what would have inspired it, right?
Yeah,
Like there's things you're naturally drawn to.
And we're back to our old and new listeners. Welcome to Who Would You Tell?
And then Heritage Day is the one where I think that is a brag, unfortunately. I don't know how to fix it.
I think Heritage Day. I mean, and it's unfortunate that even I don't know the history of Heritage Day, to be honest.
Do you have reconciliation? What's the story?
It's one of these Afrikaans English battles that happened. It's because it's Dingan's Day, and then Mazulu are involved as well.
But how do
I
you
should have found
commemorate it
another
now?
way.
What would we do?
No, they AfriForum does the reenactments there at the at the Fort Tracker Monument.
Welcome back to an episode of Who Would You Tell? I'm joined by Cairo. We are talking about all things with African. She's representing Safa right now in a way that Bafana could not. Very heartbreaking result this past week. But the World Cup's on. The World Cup's on. Lots to be excited about. It's one game. At the end of the day, Mexico were hosting. They had to get their lick back.
Yeah.
I think the saddest thing is just how we set up. Like, this is not an episode of Debates Never Die.
Yes.
Cairo, thank you for joining me. How are you doing, man?
I'm really, really good. I'm really, really good. It's a good time. It's the World Cup. You know, Gassy Flavor selling out. Happy for the boys. It's a cold winter. I know we say this every year.
Yeah, but it's cold, though.
Look, I know we say this every year as South Africans.
But it's cold, though.
But this is a very cold winter.
No, it's been tough.
This is a very, very cold winter.
No, it has been a very, very tough one.
It's been a tough winter for gas prices to be up. Yeah, it's a zaffy. But overall, I'm having a good time.
No, I'm glad, dude. I'm glad to hear it. So, good people. Today's episode is kind of an introduction to a series. It's about public atonement. And the reason I got here is kind of through a variety of personal circumstances. But I think more than anything, there's been a recognition for me that, one, I think sometimes we've started to overdo it. Or at least I've seen influencers, I've seen people who are not really responsible to anyone have to do it far too frequently. And I think that's kind of undercut what it looks like when people apologize for real. I feel like apologies, amends of any kind are an extremely personal thing. And I've seen a lot of apologies on the internet in the past 10 years of my life. And I'm just like, this is strange. This is strange. I don't think that that's how most apologies should happen. Like, the only apologies I saw on the internet before were FIFA apologies. If someone trashed you in FIFA, you had to apologize to them publicly. Beyond that, it's just this strange thing where I think because of how interconnected we've all become, there's a thing where anything you do outside of your home, you must now account for just in the world.
Yeah.
And I find it weird. Weird.
Do you know what? It's actually funny when you say that you've seen so much on the internet, because I feel like that's what I think about with the Notes app. Like, the moment I see a screenshot from the Notes app, I'm like, yo,
what did you do?
What did you do?
And now I will read it. And that's
it
the problem.
But was it really that bad? Did you have to apologize to us? You know, and I completely agree. Like, I think apologies are deeply, deeply personal, right? In that, like, did you really wrong the world, right? For you to have
this
a public
like
apology, did you really wrong the world? Like, realistically, for the most part, it's probably an interpersonal thing. The sorts of things that people have come out to apologize for, and also I think we've been spoiled with apologies. Like you said, you've seen so much. So now I kind of know what I want out of an apology.
It needs to hit certain marks before it's good enough.
This isn't, you know, so it's like, and that's why we're never happy now also with the apologies.
Exactly, because now it's like,
we've seen so many. You haven't really upped the level anymore. So now
it's like it's almost stock standard. In fact, why did you go to the Notes app? You should have done it on Word.
Exactly.
You should have taken that extra step.
There's something,
you know, put some word out behind it.
No, genuinely. Not an AI, you know, have Morgan Freeman
voiceover,
something.
Yeah, like I think we've gotten into a really weird place, and I think it makes sense, right? I think if we spend our lives pseudo connected to each other, there is going to be a feeling of entitlement from everyone, I guess, when certain things go wrong.
And I think we're also deeply public people, right? I think when you'd asked me to come on the podcast, I loved the idea, and it's made me think about just how depersonalized we've become as people, right? Because we're all personal brands, right? We're all personal brands. We're all somewhat public figures. Like just from someone, the idea that just because someone knows your name, they can find out, they can Google essentially your workplace and everything you've ever done.
Yeah,
right?
that's a scary thing.
It's scary, like that
Yeah.
from the age of, because even your high school is also on LinkedIn. So really, from the age of 13 to where you are now, I know.
I can find you. I can know your story.
Exactly. I can know your stories. Now all our stories are public. So as we all become public figures of, I guess, varying levels, we then have public obligations somewhat, which is kind of weird.
And I feel like it's one of those things where it just takes away from how we connect as individuals.
Yeah.
Massively.
Yes.
So my personal understanding and I guess my real grounding for why I find it so bothersome is I have a few friends who've gone through journey of sobriety, and as a result, they've needed to make personal amends. They've needed to come to terms with and share their acknowledge that, okay, cool, I actually messed up here, right? And even when I spoke to one of my friends recently, he shared that when he's made amends, it's not necessarily that he's been forgiven every single time, and he's at peace with the fact that that's not why you're doing it. Right, you're doing it because you've made a personal wrong. You're trying to address it in that specific context. And I think people who've gone through sobriety journeys are some of the only people who, well, not the only, but I think they experience it most intimately. An awareness of how many steps are actually needed to take before you can truly say you've gotten past something. Whereas everyone else, at least when you see it done publicly, it almost feels like you're being forced to do it. And it just feels dystopian.
Yeah.
It feels dystopian, and there's so many different ways in which it extends. I think we're getting to a point now where celebrities specifically, they're lying to us. Any celebrity who has to apologize to us, they've lied. They've lied because it's not personal. You're doing this out of like commercially driven reason.
Yes.
That's the only reason you could have
Yes.
possibly wanted to make the apology.
But even what are they apologizing to us for, right? I think that's the kind of very interesting thing around being a public figure, right? And what you now need to account for, right? That, I mean, we've had instances where athletes are releasing public statements for cheating, right? Like Anthony Martial, what's the famous, there's that.
Yes. I betrayed my wife and my family. It's like, why did you tell us?
Why are you telling us, right? Because at the end of the day, the people who harmed your wife and your children, your family, that now you are turning to us about your relationship. And that's why even when people upset at Casper Nyovest when he had issued a statement around something surrounding him and the mother of his child.
I know.
And then he said, I've forgiven myself, and people were upset at that. And it's like, did you guys want to forgive him? Like,
yeah, like,
you know,
what would it have looked like? If you forgave him, what would you have done? You're going to send flowers.
Exactly.
You're going to buy more albums. You weren't going to do anything differently.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he had to apologize to everyone who was party to the situation. We're just witnessing it, right? If that, really, and we're not even getting a full view.
You will never see these people in real life, possibly.
Yeah.
But for some reason, you know the intimate details of the apology, the
Exactly.
steps,
And
the
it's
steps
not good
that
enough for you, mind
yeah,
you.
the
Not
steps
only
that this
do you know
person is
the details,
taking
and
to
then-
now. It's like, what are we talking about, bro?
And those steps aren't good enough for you, by the way.
Yeah, at all.
No.
This doesn't show true remorse.
No.
And yeah, I just I don't know. I'm struggling to make sense of it as a thing. I think where I've probably experienced it most directly, where I've been like, there probably does need to be a version of it. It's probably like when there's familial animosity. When like I think everyone has experience where someone's wronged your mom, for example, and immediately it's like, no, this person must apologize. But in those instances, I feel like you're apologizing just to show respect, not necessarily to truly reconcile.
But, okay, intention versus outcome, right? Where, okay, are we going to, what the premium that we place on intention, right? What are you apologizing? Are you apologizing just for commercial reasons? Are you apologizing for this reason? I mean, is the outcome not the same, which is the apology?
It is,
That
I suppose.
If they're doing it just for civility purposes, they've apologized, right? I mean, and also, how do you project intention onto someone, right? Like, at what point do you say, I looked into your mind and I could say, oh, this is how
Yeah,
you,
this is
you know?
sincere or it wasn't.
Yes, you know, that, no, but even the sincerity, how do you truly gauge it? And what does an apology really mean, right? That like, is it just you saying sorry, or is apology the actions that you take afterwards, right? And it's also interesting who gets forgiven and who doesn't. I think that's what's so interesting about public apologies. What people get cancelled for, and then like poor Daniel Caesar, you know. No, Daniel Caesar, and I say this as someone who I listen to his music, right? And I think shame, you know, I just don't think.
If you were somebody else, this wouldn't have happened to you.
Yeah, I really don't. I think it's one of those things where it's like, this is slightly off-putting. That's what he did was slightly off-putting.
Yeah, it was strange.
It was strange. Yeah,
but I think that he's a really good example. For those who don't know, Daniel Caesar was cancelled ultimately because he defended a celebrity.
Celebrity? Yes, Jules.
What is she? What would you call her?
Yeah,
Celebrity?
yeah.
Essentially.
Yes.
He defended Yes Jules in a way that I don't think most black people resonated with. And as a result, people stopped listening to his music as much. His streaming numbers dropped. And the fact that someone who was just singing songs, I had never seen Daniel Caesar write a single word before. I'd never seen him hold a pen. I'd never seen him talk about anything before. There was no interview. The fact that people felt so disinterested by the fact that he expressed a taste or a preference that they decided to disinvest in his art. I think that's really strange.
And it's weird, right? Because it's like, was he on like his last chance? Because that's the thing. It's not like he had a series of. Because sometimes where I think people do get, you know, cancelled over things that are quite small, it's like sometimes actually maybe this is just the straw that broke the camel's back. Really, it's got nothing to do with this immediate situation. But with him, it was completely different. Versus you have some like celebrities with larger platforms that have been forgiven a lot. You know, and again, I think also the larger the platform, at least, you do have people are more willing to hear you out, where people are just like, Ish. Like, you know, for example, like we've forgiven Kanye West for a lot, right?
Yeah.
I think that Kanye West has a very large platform for the sorts of things that for the sorts of transgressions he's had over the past 15 years, right? But I mean, he created 5 amazing albums that people are deeply emotionally attached to. That I think it would be a lot. That's why he has more cultural cachet for every one of his new apologies to be. And he actually had a very interesting most recent public apology.
I also think what's specific to Kanye though is, what about the limits of accountability? Because if he has shared openly at this stage that mentally he's been unwell, I think we do have to then get to a point of who is allowed to genuinely make a mistake or to go through a series of things because of where they're at, right? Like if I liken it to someone who is battling with their like with sobriety or addiction, it's like, you know that they were out of themselves. So you'd like to think there's a bit of leeway you can afford them. Obviously, everyone's limits are different. And it's not that we should have like one uniform standard for it. But if we can acknowledge that we're in a generation where we're more aware of what what poor mental health looks like, the ways it can impact your life, what mania can look like, then at what point in time can we be honest about the fact that we can't be expecting everyone to hold everyone else accountable in the same way?
I think it's interesting when it comes to, because I think a big part of our conversation is about social media and platforming and things like that, right? I think it's more about there's a line between, okay, we understand the mental space that this person can be in which they said or did certain things, right? But also that's where we kind of also have to hold the media accountable in terms of platforming it, right? Whether it's social media and stuff like social media standards.
Or traditional media.
Yes, or traditional media, right? Because I think of that interesting at the BAFTAs, right? When Michael B. Jordan and the other actor that no one ever knew was British, when someone said a slur towards them, and it's like, you know, the BBC presents the BAFTAs with a lag, right? Yeah. So they actually did have an opportunity to edit out that, and they didn't edit it out, right? Yeah. Where it's like, you've got on one hand where we can have a conversation around, I mean, with everyone understands, well, not everyone, but we have an understanding of Tourette's syndrome and sorts of things that you can end up saying. But then also there's a responsibility of the...
Because you've caused harm. So how do you address it?
How you address it, that's on the individual. And also that might be, again, an interpersonal thing, right? Where it's like, then the apology might actually have to be between them and Michael B. Jordan. But then when it comes to that being platformed and all the hundreds of millions of people across the world who had to watch that, we didn't have to see that, you know? We that could have been edited out. So it's like, we're in an interesting space.
Yeah.
I think the space of public atonement and public accountability, right? Where do you think it emerged from? Like where do you think the notes it's obviously we know primarily takes place on social media.
Yeah.
But where do you think is the genesis of this thing?
I mean, I think a lot of it is related to celebrity culture, fundamentally, right? I think the moment you start trying to protect interest when you see people who've lost sponsorships, immediately making statements saying, I apologize for those that this may have harmed. I think a good example is Kevin Hart making homophobic tweets and having to apologize for that. It's an acknowledgement that you're saying, I've grown and I'm not trying to be exclusionary to any certain groups. It's a need to protect your interests. I don't think in a world where we don't have social media, it's as prevalent. I think we would have just gone with stock standard interviews. And
press conferences.
Yeah. And I think that makes more sense in my head because it's a specific moment where you are being questioned. You need to explain where you are at, as opposed to a one-off thing. I think an apology where you don't properly speak to the person isn't really an apology. I guess when you offend a group, then I guess a public statement makes a lot more sense. But even then, you'd still need to do it so I guess the social media, the nice thing about it is that it's instant, right? So if you phrase it correctly, if you do it a certain way, if you make a video about it, then maybe it seems a lot more, like you treated it urgently, as opposed to waiting to try and set it up. And maybe that's why it became so popular, that it was a quick way to quickly, try to remedy a situation. But to me, it just feels panicked. It feels strange. And I think maybe to some extent, public figures feel guilty about it because of how quickly something spreads. You'll find it in the newspaper the next day. Your aunt has now sent it to you. Your cousin is now saying, Chief, what's happening here? What did you, And yeah, I understand why it happens. It's just, it feels to me like something that only brands themselves should do. Nike should apologize for things. Adidas should apologize for things. The idea that people, specifically when there's specific personal wrongs, people doing that on a public platform, that seems too dystopian for me. It's not the way anything should work.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, when I consider certain contexts where where I've seen it regularly happen, I think it's also where, because I think people, individuals do become brands in themselves, right? And I think because they become brands, they have a specific, what their brand is built around. I think that's where you kind of, I don't want to say you owe the world an apology, but where people feel owed an apology, I think it's often around that, right? So if you were to look at, for example, I was actually thinking about Jay-Z and Beyonce, right? And how they basically had, it 3 albums where they were between the two of them. There's 3 albums where they speak about infidelity within their marriage and the ways that Jay-Z had to atone for it, right? So first, the way that a lot of the people who, when there were rumors circulating about Jay-Z with different women, and it's all those a lot of women who are being attacked on social media and their children and things like that is very weird. But I think that because they had built this platform as we are the Carters, right? That there is a part of their individual brands, part of their cultural cachet is their relationship, is their marriage, is all of that. That I think that's when people feel they need a certain explanations, right? Where it's like, in reality, this is between you and your wife, right? The rest of us don't really need to know anything. But I think when it forms so much of your cultural cachet, forms so much of the way that people
It
experience
does make
you,
it a bit more necessary.
you make a lot of money out of it as well, right? It gets a bit necessary. But I think it's I think we've become very mean. We've also become really mean. I think some of the things that we are, I think something that happened in the late 2010s, right, where we're becoming deeply socially progressive very quickly, right, in a way much quicker than social media was progressing faster than I think a lot of the rest of the world. And we were also operating in a way that we were like, we wanted to vote people off the island, right?
Yeah.
So even the idea of like Kevin Hart's homophobic tweets, right? The idea of also tweets from 10 years ago suddenly emerging, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like, okay, someone has come up. How can we find a way to bring them down, right? Because why do these things emerge at that specific time, right? Where it's like, let's, we kind of want to progressive check everyone. How are they?
Like, how were you then?
Yes.
Are you really like a good person?
And also, even almost like sometimes we treat people. It's actually funny. Noah, she says the moment you have more than 20,000 followers, people act like you're a political party and they voted for you, and you're misusing their votes.
No, but
right?
genuinely,
So-
like we've seen so many influencers have to be accountable and say, "I'm sorry about this, that, the third."
Exactly.
Dude, I've seen people apologize for like social media posts. As in,
Yes.
no one was actually
Even
offended.
comments or liking something.
It's like liking the wrong thing, reposting the wrong video. It's just like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
It's like you can just unfollow them. Like, it doesn't need to become a thing
Exactly.
where publicly they must beg you to love them again. You never met them. You liked them because you liked what they posted on Instagram. Like the standard we hold people, we hold them to is ridiculous. I don't know. We hold politicians to the same standard we hold some celebrities to.
don't.
We really
We
don't.
don't.
They are. Yo, I wonder. Can I say this online? There's definitely politicians who you've seen out, or politically connected figures who you've seen out in places where it's like, you can't be here. Actually, this is
Yes.
impossible. What you're doing.
Yes.
Like this doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
and those people are not held accountable.
100%.
But you have a social media account following a certain amount, and people feel that they can demand the world of you.
Yeah. Wait, you haven't spoken out on this issue. You haven't spoken
What?
about on this issue.
That person's not
Does
a
the
politician.
the person that you voted for, what does your ward councillor think about this?
Well, have you spoken to them?
Have you spoken
Have
to
you
them?
reached out? Have you even sent an email? But you've left a dozen comments about this person because they said something crazy on TikTok. That's insane.
It's insane. And also the extent to which the harm, right? So I think you and I had a brief conversation about this yesterday. But yeah, so Noah and I are, people love to group us together, but we are not twins, right? She thinks she's older than me. She's 6 months older than me. Anyways, we both, I guess, have moderately... Well, we would have big platforms if we didn't delete our accounts every 2 years. But we have decent followings in Nutido, but we tweet or either post on TikTok about the economy and things like that. And then there is someone who has been blaming us for the COVID lockdowns for the most interesting time, right? For maybe the past like year and a half, right? That these are the sort of economic pundits that are harming our economy. The articles and thought pieces that they put out are the reason why our economy is growing at 0.5%. Do you know what's so crazy? You have a minister of finance and it's not me and it's not Noah. And the extent to which, so this person has created, the person that is holding us accountable has created maybe 5 accounts on Twitter. They create an account, they say these things, they reply to all our posts, they tag us in all these things, we block them. They make another account, we block them. We make another account. It's actually a bit concerning. It's
a little bit.
It's a bit worrying. We joke about it, but it's actually not funny.
Yeah.
But I say that to say that, there are actual people whose decisions have an influence, not just people's whose opinions have an influence, right? Because I think we've created this thing where it's like, okay, opinions are influential. I don't think the people who are I don't think before Lesejahana announces the interest rates, he goes on my Twitter and says, oh, what does
And says, yo, is this the public discourse right now?
about monetary policy? I'm pretty sure he's not pressed, right? But yeah, we have this mismatch in terms of who you hold accountable. And I think a part of it also comes to proximity, where the people that it's easier to hold influencers accountable because they feel really close to us, right? Accessibility, because also they share so much of us. It's like celebrities as well, right?
Yeah.
So that the modern celebrity has shared way more than the celebrity of 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I know how your car looks. I know how your house looks, and I don't have to see it on Cribs. I saw it on your Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, I saw
Every
it
day, actually.
Every day.
You take videos all the time.
All the time.
Like I saw when there were renovations.
I
Actually.
know exactly. I saw the renovations. I saw that you went on a jog this morning, and it genuinely took you an hour to run 5 kilometers.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
No, but I'm proud of you, though. I'm proud of you, Pusha. But yeah, we know so much of each other, and then we expect way. I think we expect way too much of each other, when it comes to even how we interact with each other, the conduct, and the premium we place on harm. It's I don't know.
I think we've lost the plot.
Yes,
A long time ago. I think what stresses me most about this is obviously we can recognize the problem, and hopefully in the next episodes, as we unpack this a bit further, we can look at the ways other people think that it makes the most sense to try and manage what public accountability is going to look like. I think for you, what I'm most curious about is, do you ever feel hamstrung by what your public perception is now? Because again, you are a financial commentator. You are someone who writes about it. There's an understanding, or there's a block that they put you in as a person. Do you feel like you're allowed to still be yourself on the internet?
Not in the way that I used to. So I've been trying to have more fun on the internet. Like I've been, I've got my favorite tirade about how you're never gonna make it to C-suite carry frontal, right? That's my new agenda. You are not gonna, girl. It's time to lock that hair. If you're gonna, if you wanna ascend, right? We get to a level, right? So I do try to make a few jokes every now and again, but I think it's so hard to navigate, right? I think what attracted me to financial and economic commentating is that, number one, I really enjoy it, but number two, it feels really objective, right? If the economy hasn't grown, it hasn't grown, right? If our GDP grew if unemployment increased by X amount, that's what happened. That's what happened.
There's no nuance to it. Like, this is the truth of this. Yeah.
There's no nuance. And I think it's a lot easier to just really just engage with topics without offending anyone. I think that's one, and also offending anyone, and then and also just being able to have good quality conversations that are really steeped in what the topic is about, right? And people not necessarily bringing in other things. But it has been a bit limiting because it used to be so fun, man. I used to really enjoy having fun on social.
You could show all sides of your personality. I feel like we're getting to a point now where, to different degrees, obviously, people show very limited versions of themselves on any kind of social platform.
I even think outside of social media, sometimes I can tell with the way that people articulate themselves that they spend too much time on social media.
100%.
Right? Where the moment that before you even start saying something, you disclaim, like people who disclaim too much. Before I say anything, I am a Pan-Africanist, I am pro-black, I'm a feminist. I believe
giving all the context for your views instead of just trying to meet someone as a person. Like, I am just what I am.
Like, before you even say what you want to say, you have to qualify everything, and it's like, what social? I can tell that
the amount of self-consciousness that I think exists now as a result. It's like, you don't have to be a public figure now. People can still be afraid to post. Even having too much fun, you want to post the night out because you want to look like you're a serious person.
Absolutely.
You don't want to post that kind of photo because actually someone might take me a little less seriously
100%.
if I post this photo instead of trying to post something a bit more put together.
100%. I mean, I realized that actually funny with myself when I removed any picture of myself holding a wine glass. on my Instagram, and it's like, is it really that serious?
Why would that be a secret?
Yeah.
Like why would you have to hide that kind
But
of thing?
we were really scared into it. Don't you remember at school?
No,
I remember in
100%.
LO,
There was no one to say, hey, don't
said,
post these kinds of things.
Everyone's gonna look at your and
Your
I mean,
Facebook.
be careful what you look at. When you apply to university, they're gonna look at your Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, or when you apply for jobs, they're gonna look at. Girl, when you apply for jobs, they're gonna look at your CV, see your hobbies, and then move away. This is essay. Like,
Yeah, but
no one.
But again, I think we are getting to a point where, I guess, all of public accountability, all public atonement, it is just reputation management.
Yes.
Like, and
Yes.
it extends, and I guess to some extent it would have existed before social media. I guess, but I feel like it would have been in much more like specified spaces as opposed to this all-encompassing thing. I think people at work, for example,
Yes.
of course, you're not going to show all aspects of your personality, but then you're there to serve a function.
Yeah.
The fact that people socialize at this point in time, there can be a need to be seen a certain way, to walk a certain way, to almost dress a certain way outside of how you would typically dress if you wanted to go out somewhere, because you're afraid that because of who you think you're seen as, you can't now show up in this way.
And also I think it's also the fear mongering, right? Where it's like we had a very, I think, like, I've never in my entire professional life looked at the Instagram of a coworker that isn't my friend,
Yeah.
right?
'Cause why?
Or a client or
It
anything.
can do nothing for me.
I have never thought to myself, oh, okay, this is my new client. Let me go on their Instagram to do what? I've never done that, right?
Yeah.
So the extent to which we think people even do stuff like that is very, very extreme. But I think we live in the reputation economy, right? Where I think everyone's kind of influencer, right?
Everyone's a brand of some kind.
Yes, everyone's a brand of some kind. Especially within this like new AI world, it's also a lot easier to become a brand. We're seeing very long posts from people who have never typed very long before. we're seeing, I've never seen you give more than 120 characters before ChatGPT. But I think we've become quite strict because we're also in this optimizing world, right?
Yeah.
Where we are trying to optimize for every single second of the day. You know, we've got 4 a.m. club, we've got this and that and that and that. And I think as a result, we're also, in the way that we try to optimize all aspects of personal behavior, we then hyper scrutinize any behavior, right? Where just think about how apologetic people are about, like we were just saying, people are scared about going out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, about posting themselves going out. People feel scared. Like there's someone who's 26 years old who feels bad about posting themselves going out. Not just posting themselves going out, but even regularly going out, right?
Yeah.
Where, you know, we're all performatively too old for the club, you know.
You don't want to be seen as unserious or someone who does, you're doing way too much. It's just like, dude,
No,
you have to
you're
live your life
young.
on your terms.
Exactly. So the things I think we moved too far in terms of pendulums, right? I think that in the late 2010s, when we had a lot of really progressive conversations around women's rights, around LGBTQ rights, around Black Lives Matter, all of those things, right? Which I thought fundamentally fantastic, but we became so nitpicky, just even in the way that the way we'd scrutinize how people would articulate their ideas, right? That like now not only are people apologizing for saying the wrong thing, sometimes people are apologizing for saying the right thing in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right? Where we went so far, right? And then we went so far to a point that actually what happened is that with a thing that I found very unfortunate is that I think people who got really clamped down on, right, that maybe said something that was off-putting or not perfectly right, then they apologized. The apology was rejected. And then the only people who accepted the apology were like some of the worst of us, right? And then you get the very extreme unapologetic, because like if I try to apologize,
I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Yeah.
And then I try to apologize, you guys don't accept my apology.
I might as well just be
I'll
wrong
never
anyway.
apologize. You know what? Let me actually.
You're going to be emboldened by it.
Yeah.
It's like there's no point in trying to be accountable if you're not going to be accepted anyway.
Exactly.
But again, even that hoping to be accepted, that goes against the point of needing to apologize. Having to do it all on this public stage is making so much of how people engage.
See, do you think there's something wrong with hoping that your apology is accepted?
There's nothing wrong with hoping for it, But your reaction to your apology not being accepted should not be to embolden you to do more wrong, or to then shy away from apologizing at all.
But
You're making the apology
yes.
because you are acknowledging
Yes.
you were wrong here.
I think
That's it. No.
Human beings are no. Wait.
Except you can want to be loved elsewhere. Someone else will hear an apology. Someone else, maybe not the person you apologize to. Someone else will hear it. Someone else will have time for it, and you can engage that person. But hoping the person who you apologize to is going to hear you and welcome you back with open arms, that's not what's going to happen. Like if I piss off my mom, my stepdad might hear me and say it wasn't that bad. But ultimately, I want my mom to hear me at this moment in time.
Okay.
But there's nothing I can do. I have to wait.
But
I have to leave it.
But Mama also must. Mama.
But it takes time.
No,
it
but
takes time. But the point is that you still need to have made the apology in the first
could
place.
Pick up the pace
You
a little
need
bit.
to make
She
the
could pick
gesture.
Up the pace a little
It'd be
bit.
lovely.
Now I have a forgiving spirit, guys. No.
But like,
No.
genuinely, you can't hold people hostage to your apology.
Guys, your strict programs, right?
Yeah.
We're never gonna build homes. We're never gonna build a society. We are never gonna build a society with these extremely strict programs.
So we
because
should all be more forgiving then.
I do think so because I genuinely.
But to what extent? When are you allowed to hold the grudge?
No. Hold on.
Mm.
I don't think you need to forgive everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I genuinely think that part of what when we say people are scared to post to this and that, I think we are in such a hyper judgmental space, right? That people are so scared of trying things, right? Or even saying. Sometimes people are scared of speaking out. No, not necessarily because they're scared of. They're scared of the people who they're on the same side as those people.
Saying that
They're
you're not saying enough
when
almost.
you're not saying it properly.
Yeah.
Right?
So actually it's incorrect.
Exactly. So I'm not even scared of people on the other side. I'm scared of people on
my side.
On my side. because
Thinking
then-
that actually you don't actually not even informed enough to be speaking about this thing. Yeah.
you see for example, you see what I mean? And then now I have to do a notes app apology about
To say I'm
this and-
sorry that I left this out. I was just trying to express A, B,
you
and
know?
C.
So yeah, but you forgot D. You see, it says something about you. So
Yeah.
I think we've gotten a bit too far. I think we need a little bit more forgiving spirits. I really do think that.
So what would your solution be? What would you propose? How would we get there?
I think we need. It's almost like a middle groundish, right? Because when I was thinking about public atonement, I don't think there's a country that has had. That has had a more like the genesis of this current Republic of South Africa is public atonement, right?
Yeah.
It's the TRC, right? That
And people are still unhappy with that.
yes, people still aren't happy with that. And they have very valid criticisms, right? To say that like someone went and they
Like justice wasn't ultimately served.
Yes,
Someone's done wrong, but they get away with it.
exactly justice wasn't ultimately served, and they're able to walk amongst us, right? But also, if justice was served, right?
What would things look like?
What would things look like? And would we have will anyone ever really feel like justice can ever be?
No, because there's certain things that can't be undone. You can't bring people back.
Yes, I can't bring
who've been murdered. That's not what happens.
Exactly,
when
right.
justice is served.
Exactly.
It's just some kind of like, I guess, punishment dished out, and you think that's enough, but
Yeah.
it isn't.
Yeah,
it isn't enough.
It'll never feel enough for you. So now, is it because it will never feel enough that there should be nothing? I don't think so. But also, the reality is that I'm not sure if I like the idea of disposing of the sort of disposability we have when we say when we don't want to forgive, right? And that like. So now you refuse to forgive someone. They don't die, hey? They're still
Life
gonna
goes
live.
on. They're gonna be around.
They're gonna be around. They're still gonna be here. And you, having some sort of like continue to navigate the world with this gradual beef with them, isn't gonna change anything, right? That like at the end of the day, and also the more and more people that are now not being forgiven, because that's the thing, is that we're getting stricter and stricter.
Yeah.
So the people not being forgiven are even a greater population than the green,
there's more
right?
outcasts in the in group at that point.
Exactly. Now we're voting everybody off the island. It's Survivor, now that you.
No, you're just gonna end up alone.
Exactly.
In a world where you can't forgive, you end up holding everyone to a standard that no one can maintain 100% of the time.
100%.
And I guess the hope then isn't to reach a uniform standard. I think people need to be honest about what it is that they want from people who've committed wrongs. Ultimately, I think people who are like typically peacekeepers,
Yes.
are better at accepting that there's going to be missteps along the way. Then I guess the requirement for some people is just acknowledgement at the very least. If you can acknowledge it, then we can move past it.
I mean, I think what's so interesting is when it comes to even who to apologize to, right? In that, I hate to bring up infidelity again, right? Because it's gonna sound like a pattern.
Go ahead.
But I remember growing up and seeing the Tiger Woods scandal. And I thought cheating was a crime. I thought if I grow up, yay.
No, but it does do harm. So.
It definitely does, right? But it's still primarily harm between him and his
people.
family. But like he lost everything, right? And well, I mean, I'm not sure about if it was just two people at that point, but you know what I mean. But at the end of the day, he was really, really punished by the world. There's a lot of people that still haven't forgiven him. I'm sure his wife forgave him before. He's been forgiven by he's probably been forgiven by his wife before he was forgiven by the rest of the world, and a lot of people who still haven't forgiven him, right? And he's still continuing to play, right? And he's still gonna be a legend. But it's that, like, what about the need for atoning when you've only harmed yourself? Because I think of, like, when you brought up sobriety, right, is that it's not everyone who, when they were drinking a lot, like, before they harmed anyone else, they primarily
were harming themselves. Their life was
right?
at risk before anything else.
And it's like, when you are ruining your own life, do you owe other people an apology for ruining your own life? Do you have permission to ruin your own life? Because it's yours. No, but I'm asking you.
Yeah,
What do you think? Like,
so I think because of the people that I have received amends from who have gone through battles of addiction, I've forgiven them because it's too personal relationship, right? It's not something that I can look at and judge in the same way that I would have 10 years ago. I think it's what underpins my approach to a lot of this now. It's just that a lot of the time when people mess up and harm you, it's not some personal thing, right? Like, there is something else that they have going on. And again, you still would hope that they can still acknowledge it at the very least, because there is an element where, yes, you're ruining your life, but in that process, you did this, right? Like, there was this specific act where this does impact me. It just shouldn't overshadow what the person was ultimately doing to themselves, right? You're hoping that they can get better. You're hoping that they can stick to their sobriety, that you can help them through that as far as you possibly can. I don't know. It's difficult because, especially in a familial setting, there's an idea of, like, a reputation. There's, like, ways in which boundaries are crossed. There's issues with, like, familial respect and just, like, ways of doing things that I think make it feel like it is bigger that you messed up for the family than it is that you messed up for yourself. It can it can feel that way for people who are sufferers of addiction, that you're outcasted, you're spoken about a certain way, that you're not invited to certain things because you don't really know where you're at right now.
yeah.
And the road back, I don't think it's linear for everyone. You're hoping that your family is, like, one that is more forgiving than others might be. Like, I know people who don't have contact with their families in the same way because of what they were going through when they were going through addiction. And yeah, people like that, like, their experience of accountability is, I think it looks like people then move on without you. And I guess they then have that experience of that's also fine because people can make those choices. Like I said, you don't always get forgiveness, but you can like, or maybe it just takes too long. It takes too long to rebuild the relationship the same way.
Yeah, well, the relationship, it's like let's say this chair, this table had, like, now the one leg's broken, this one's got this issue. Now, once we rebuild it, now it's got all this tape everywhere.
Yeah.
Can it ever really be repaired? To what end? How will it...
How does it function? Is it still going to be
yes.
around in the same way?
Will you also be able to navigate in the same way, right? Like, in that, like, let's say, for example, when you were struggling with addiction, you were, like, maybe the sort of person who steals in the house, right? Then now it's like people feeling like they can't have their things around you, right?
Yeah.
That, like, even after you've you have gone on your sobriety journey and all these things, they might still have
that,
those.
that you are that kind of person now. Well, I think like the table is a good example because it won't be the same.
Yeah.
But you can still have the table. You can
Yes.
still have the relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's just important to accept that it's going to be different. And you can't blame anyone for that from that point onwards. Once you've forgiven them, once you've received the amends, once you've tried to move forward, you have to acknowledge that that's what comes with it. That there is a bit of judgment. There is a bit of wariness around, can it still support this weight? You might not share the same with that person once they've come back from this sobriety journey. And in some cases, you might be able to. It ultimately depends on what your personal capacity for it is.
But also even the time, right, where it's like sometimes do transgressors have a right? And this is where I want to speak to the kind of the irrationality of human emotion, right? And things like pride and stuff like that. Do transgressors also have a right to not want to engage with someone because of the way in which they've forgiven them?
Yes.
Because I think to myself, like, if on one hand you've forgiven me, but I'm always one mistake away from being that person in your eyes, right?
You don't want to walk on eggshells indefinitely.
Now you're working
it's
on
like,
eggshells.
you've forgiven me, but anytime there's any kind
That
of like
thing
sign
comes
of this thing,
back and
it's
that-
impossible that you can engage with me normally. Like I said, like we can still have a
Exactly.
relationship, but it won't be the same.
It won't be the same. And it's like, and sometimes you find it crazy when it's like, how's the person who's transgressed
The person who's
not
upset.
interested, or the person who's not interested in being in the relationship,
Because
continue the
that's
relationship.
what it looks like. It's complex. It's layered. But like
Yes.
people have a right to decide like how they want to engage with you.
100%. Because I mean, I don't want to be on parole for 10 years. No,
But
Jenny,
you
think
could be
about
on,
it.
like in
I'm
certain
on-
instances you'll be on parole the rest of your life if you want to have a relationship with this person. It's going to look this
But
way
it's like,
because of what's
no,
happened.
Man, I understand you. It's like, thanks for forgiving me. But can I say thanks
But
for no
at
thanks?
what cost?
Yeah, thanks for forgiving me, Mara. Your forgiveness, yeah, how I'm not sure if I want it, right?
But you think everyone's forgiveness is like clean slate? Is yours a clean slate? If someone wrongs you, can you go back to where you were before that happened?
I think I don't take people very seriously, right? So let's start with the fact that, like, for me to feel like you deeply wronged me, right, takes a lot. Because I genuinely just don't take people, like, very seriously. I think the sort of things that people may feel like, because I just think human beings are very insane people, that I just think to myself, oh, that's just a human being being a human being. Like, you people do that, right?
Yeah.
So it takes a lot for me to feel aggrieved. So I've already even I forgive
Because
people all the time.
so you have a high tolerance in general.
Yes, I have a high
Okay.
tolerance in general for it because I understand how long life is. I understand how complicated life is. I understand also I'm deeply empathetic to people being in a space where, you know, before you even betray other people, you betray yourself, right? I understand self-betrayal. Self-betrayal is deep. It's a deeply it's a table space to be in, right? So I understand, I'm deeply empathetic to people being in a space where they're not themselves, right? And the sorts of decisions that they make when they're not themselves. And I think if you're someone who truly acknowledges that you made certain decisions that are not true to who you are, right? That it's like, this is a poor decision. It's out of character, right? You acknowledge that. I'm 100% like, once you've spoken about it, it's done.
And then
Because if I'm always, because I also don't want to now remember, because now I have to keep tally. Now I also, now it's work for
I always have this in mind that, I messed up that time, so I need to be extra kind now to make sure they're still in.
No. As in, even for you, I have to remember that you did that thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that too. Now it's work for me too, where I have to keep track of, oh, can you do this and that and that? It's either like, are we running this like the accounting concept of going concern, right? That we're running this business on going concern. We're running it on the assumption that this business is going to continue later.
Yeah.
That's how we look at relationships and friendships for the most part as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, if I'm running our relationship, friendship on going concern, it means that I don't.
You have
want
to just just cut to the game. Like this is what's
Yes.
part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because otherwise, until when, like, what's the statute of limitations now for my, you know? There's a statute of limitations for how long we make people atone, how we make people atone. is money also a good?
So that's actually a good question. Like about 2 weeks ago, I was out with a friend. He said, for certain transgressions, I feel like if I just give you like 5K, like right now, say, dude, I didn't know about this. Apologies. Like with a stranger, I feel like it'd be a lot easier to do. I think on a personal level, it's not as easy because there's always the belief that the person who's wronged you, if they're close to you, should just have known better. It should have been impossible for them to have made certain kinds of mistakes because they know too much about you. They know what would annoy you the most. They know the different ways in which your day could have been going on that day when they committed that wrong in the first place. So it's just like you specifically could never have done this to me, but they could forgive somebody else who they had lower expectations of in the first place. So I guess you've shared how you are in terms of forgiving somebody. When you've needed to receive forgiveness, what has that been like for you?
You know what? I actually, it's interesting because in terms of my relationship with my parents, right? Because I think that's where they'll always be the most, people have forgiven me the most are my parents. I think that's what it's like for most people, right? I remember when I got into a car accident and I wrote off one of my dad's cars. My dad spoke about it to me that day and has never brought it up again, right? But I think my mom will bring up, he completely forgave me, right? My mom hasn't brought it up either, but my mom will forgive me, but then remind me about really small things. You know, it's so interesting that like, it's so interesting and it speaks to so much of like human nature, right? So it's like people weigh different things, right?
Yeah.
Weigh different things out where it's like you'd imagine that you would be more angry at the person and hold on to the idea of your child writing off your car than you would about the fact that they never make their bed. Like, and they just have this habit of never making their bed. Or they maybe, okay, like a terrible habit I have is like, let's say there's like, I'm making cereal, there's like a little bit of milk left, right?
You gotta leave it there.
I put the box back in the fridge. I know it's a bad habit, right? And then it's like now you pour your cereal in the bowl, thinking that there's milk in the box, and then there isn't. It's a bad habit, right? My mom hates it.
I hear her. I'm touched. Because honestly, that feels like you're trolling me. It feels like you put it back for me to say it's like, now what, dude?
Or when I used to like meal prep, like maybe I'll make myself a meal, but like I'll make myself a meal as in like I'm gonna cook one piece of meat.
Oh, okay.
So now,
so you move like you live on
yes,
land,
like
pretty
living
much.
alone, right?
Okay.
So now the whole house, but now the house smells like chicken, right? Because
And they say, "Where's
chicken
the
is in
food?" And
oven.
it's just like,
And then an individual piece an individual chicken thigh was cooked.
okay.
Like now that I'm older, I'm just like, that's so insane.
You were being a savage. You were so done with them.
But you know, it's so crazy. I didn't even clock it. I didn't even think that that's a crazy.
No, I mean, as a kid, I can get it. Like when you're younger, because you are for a
that's
long
21,
time in your
right?
own world. Okay,
But still.
we're gonna say you're 17. We're gonna cut this out. We're gonna say maybe you're 15, even just for the sake of the edit. But okay, outside of the home, what has that looked like? Have you had to ask for forgiveness from a friend to re-engage the friendship? How long did it take? What was the?
I actually had a friend reach out to me for forgiveness today.
No, you.
Oh, me asking for forgiveness. Yeah, absolutely. I think you can't have I don't think you can have good quality long-term friendships without conflict. So I actually used to have really bad conflict resolution skills, right? And it's something that I had to be deeply intentional about building and continuing to improve.
What's it like when it was bad?
Avoidance, right? So on my own side, not confronting things and then just letting animosity build up and then just letting the chopper sing like, on this day, count 1, this, count 2. On this day you did XYZ. It's like, no, that's not how you do things, right? And that's not a way to build healthy relationships. And in the same way that I've had to, go to friends and say, hey friend, I did this. I spoke to you in a way that was insensitive, or I missed out on your birthday and that's something that's really important to you, or I did this, or I did that. And would I say, for the most part, I've been forgiven. Okay. I would say, yeah. Okay. I'm assessing it now, and I think for the most part I've been forgiven. there have been situations where I haven't been forgiven, and I'm just like, I wouldn't either. Like,
You're wilding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't either, and I take it on the chin.
Has it ever impacted like a group dynamic? Like, have you ever felt like you needed to apologize to all of your friends because something's gone wrong?
I don't like the idea of that. Now, if I wronged everybody at one time. No, I haven't done that.
Okay.
But I also don't think I would.
You wouldn't apologize.
Can I express some human irrationality?
Okay.
Awa. We can talk about it all one-on-one, and I can talk about the ways in which I harmed each person in the group. If maybe I harmed everyone in the group one-on-one, sure. But like, I think, like, what are the chances that in a friendship dynamic, like the only that you, because also now you putting yourself, I think you're putting yourself in an opportunity to just get piled on. I don't know. So no, I don't really do group friendships anyways. Like, I'm not in any group chats, right?
Okay.
That are not work or business related. So I've never
Like
had
that dynamic's not really been a thing for you.
yeah. I don't like it also because, again, I think that groups actually create that sort of like public account. That's
why I asked, because
actually think
it's a smaller version of it.
yes, I think groups are the first iteration of public accountability that I clocked in high school, and I said,
It doesn't work for you.
Yes, I saw it as a teenager. I said, this thing doesn't seem like it's going to work for me, because I've just seen it happen where maybe someone does something to one person in the group, and now we all need to deliberate about that thing. We all need to take a stance, and then we all need to decide if we're voting them off the tribe, if we're voting them off the island. And I'm not sure if that was always healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And also, we're so unforgiving. I know I've been saying this a couple of times, but yeah.
So again, like, I guess my final question is, what do you think you would change if you had a magic wand to try and give everyone a clean slate? How would you make us all like the one action people could take to make people more forgiving? What do you think it would be? What do you think would help people get to that point?
I think what would make people get to that point is experiencing more things that they thought, being in more situations where they're forced to make decisions that they never thought they'd have to make.
Okay.
Yeah.
Such experience.
Because I think that's where my forgiveness has come from, right? Where it's like, I think there's certain aspects of unforgiveness and looking for atonement from people and accountability from people that comes from the fact that you may have never fought the good fight. You may have never been in the streets like that, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that the older you get, the more difficult life experiences you have, the more difficult just even mental spaces that you're in, right? And that's where I've become, more empathetic to people who end up, maybe battling some sort of addiction. That life gets really difficult, life gets really hard. You find different coping mechanisms. You find yourself in a different mental space, and you end up doing things that are harmful. And that I think empathy is having experienced something is the biggest and best way you can really, really adopt a spirit of forgiveness and have a better relationship with either expecting accountability and how you want people to account.
Okay. Well, that's a great answer. Cairo, thank you. I have one last question for you, though.
Okay.
What are the 3 things you are most looking forward to?
In general?
Could be anything.
I am most looking forward to seeing more of the world. I'm most looking forward to laughing and having really great conversations with people. And I'm most looking forward to allowing myself, for myself specifically, I'm most looking forward to allowing myself to really, really have fun again.
Yeah.
Like, to really, really have fun, prioritize fun, be intentional about fun in the way that I do with work.
Okay. Great answers. Cairo, thank you for joining me. Good people. I think we need to be honest about what we expect from people on the internet. I really hope we get to a point where influencers have to apologize less, especially when the crimes are not on that grand scale. People are going to fail publicly. People are going to make mistakes. People are going to have mishaps. It can't be that the expectation is that for every single one of them, they need to explain to us as viewers on the internet that, this is why this has happened. This is what. Sometimes you have to let personal things be personal things. Let's make the internet fun again. It doesn't need to be this place where you go to get criticized. The fact that people are hosting workshops on the internet about being like not being afraid to be cringe on the internet, that should not need to be something that we need to teach people. We should need to kind of start from scratch in terms of this need to be perfect, let's create an image. I don't think that's what social media is meant to be. Granted, certain things like, you know, a need for professionalism. I'm not saying if you do funny things on the internet, don't do drugs on the internet, please. Please. There's basics. But I think we can get to a place where holistically, you know, the internet is a place for connection. That is ultimately its greatest tool. I think when people say social media is a bad place, I fear that's because of how we've started to allow it to control our lives. And at the end of the day, this is a tool. It is flat. It is just one way. You know, how we engage that makes it feel one way or the other. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Cairo, thank you for joining me.
Kanya, so happy to be here.
I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Catch you in a bit.